Good afternoon, everyone. Glad you all could join us today. It's a great honor for me to introduce the United States Attorney General Jeff Sessions. As I'm sure all of you know, before General Sessions became Attorney General, he was a senator for many years for the great state of Alabama. But before that, he was in law enforcement. He was a federal prosecutor in Alabama for 12 years, first as an assistant U.S. attorney and then as the U.S. attorney. So he knows from firsthand experience the challenges that we face in keeping our communities safe from violent crime, drug trafficking, and gangs. He also knows how much we in the Department of Justice depend on our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners to get the job done. We face some big law enforcement challenges in the Commonwealth. Violent crime is on the rise. Fatal shootings in Boston are up 50% this year over the same period last year. Transnational gangs like MS-13 have infiltrated many of our communities, and the opioid epidemic has become one of the leading causes of death in the Commonwealth. I know from speaking personally with the Attorney General that he is keenly aware of these challenges. He cares deeply about public safety, he's passionate about the work that we do, and he wants to help us succeed. I am grateful for the support that he has given us in our common efforts to safeguard the public, and I could not be happier to welcome him here today. Please join me in a warm round of applause for Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
Thank you, Bill. It's so good to be with you and good to be here. I understand from my team that Boston asked that I come and visit the first invitation I got, and we've been a little tardy in being here, but it's great to finally be here and meet with you. We're meeting with all the United States Attorney's offices, at least at those that we can, around the country. I want to say I know this is a great office. It's been so for many years. I've served with your United States attorneys over the years. I said 12 years as United States Attorney in Alabama, and it was a thrill for me. The job was something the likes of which I'll never get over, really. I told somebody it's probably a good thing that I served 12 years, well 14 counting my assistant time, in the Department of Justice before going to the Senate and spending 20 years on Judiciary Committee overseeing the Department of Justice. I would have been ruined for sure if it had been reversed. And I'd served in the Senate before I went to the Department of Justice. But I feel like I was raised and formed in the values of this department. And I hope to be worthy of the trust that the President and the American people have placed in me, and we will do our best in that regard. It's good to be in Harvard. We've got 3 top officials in the Department of Justice. Number one is Sarah Flores. Where is Sarah? She's my communications person. So she's a Harvard Law graduate. Our number 2 person, of course, is Rod Rosenstein, our Deputy Attorney General, who's the center of the management of the Department of Justice. Rod's a Harvard graduate. Number 3, Rachel Brand, is our Associate Attorney General, and she's had a number of years in the department, a great lawyer, and doing a great job. And she's a Harvard graduate. So we got a little connection here. And Gary Barnett, he's my counsel. He just reminded me that he's a Boston University graduate. So we've got a lot of connections to this city. We understand the excellence of the team that you've assembled, and am proud to be to work with you. President Trump declared 2 things today. He declared both the Prescription Opioid and Heroin Epidemic Awareness Week and the National Gang Violence Prevention Week this week. So both of these issues are things that are critical to your office, the leadership that you've already provided for it, Bill, and that I think the nation has got to learn to be better about to deal with these two issues. So thank you all here for the work that you've done to try to reduce the devastation that opioids and gangs have done to our communities. President Trump's first declaration makes clear to all of those who are suffering addiction, seeking treatment, or who are in recovery that we stand with them. We've had a number of meetings that I've been with him, a number of meetings with Governor Christie to deal with the devastation that addiction brings from drugs, and it's something that's got to be top on our list. A second declaration puts all gang members and organized thugs on notice. We are coming for you. We will hunt you down, we will find you, and we will bring you to justice. As violent crime is on the rise nationally and surging in some of our big cities, I was really shocked to see the kind of murder increase you've had here this year. We've seen it already in quite a number of our nation's largest cities. It's not a little matter. Some questioned me over the last several years when I said I thought that what we were seeing in increases was not a blip, but the beginning of a trend if we didn't get serious and see if we can't blunt that trend. And I think the facts as the months go by have proven that we have some big challenges indeed. So your office has risen to the occasion, zeroed in on yet another danger, in specific the Transnational Criminal Organizations, and in particular MS-13. As this community knows firsthand, MS-13 is probably the most violent and ruthless gang on our streets today. It has made inflicting gruesome violence a primary feature of theirs. Their motto is kill, rape, and control. MS-13 has assaulted, raped, maimed, and killed, often just for the sake of it. In so doing, they've destroyed communities, the lives of hard-working and law-abiding immigrants, and left devastation and misery in their wake. I visited, and later the President has visited, two families in Islip, New York, who were parents of two 16-year-olds. One had just celebrated her 16th birthday. Her best friend was to celebrate her 16th birthday a few days later. They were both murdered brutally by this gang for nothing other than, it seems to me, having perhaps disrespected them at the school they attended. So this kind of thing is unacceptable in this country, and we're going to follow your lead in dealing with it. So I have done some examination over the last few months of MS-13. I traveled to Islip, where the gang running is important there, killing victims, traumatizing communities, and replenishing its ranks, as I just understood from a briefing we had previous to this meeting, that taking advantage of young people in our schools, taking advantage of the unaccompanied alien program. So this program continues to place juveniles from Central America into gang control territory, and it is being abused. And further, I've traveled to El Salvador and observed the gang's nerve center there. These experiences have further cemented my belief that MS-13 represents some of the worst when it comes to criminal street gangs. The power in El Salvador that they wield is remarkable, far beyond what I expected. It has hardened my resolve that we must contain and dismantle this gang clique by clique and member by member. One need look no further than what has occurred here as proof positive that what this gang is capable. The alleged gang murder of a mother in front of two young children. It doesn't get much worse than that. The brave men and women of this office, along with your courageous law officers, are taking the fight to them, however. I understand that over 400 federal, state, and local law enforcement officers took part in the massive MS-13 takedown stemming from your office's indictment of 60 MS-13 members. It is precisely this type of law enforcement collaboration that is absolutely necessary. We know, local law enforcement representatives that may be here, that 85% of law officers in America are state and local. Federal government has international capabilities, interstate capabilities, but fundamentally, law enforcement and order and safety is a product of our state and local law officers, and the kind of cooperation you have here, I think is a good example for all. And in fact, I'm finding it wherever I travel. The people feel like there really is a good relationship, and it's essential. You made good use of all the implements in the federal toolbox for prosecution. RICO, false documents, aliens in possession of a firearm, conspiracy to distribute narcotics. These are the kind of things that work. I congratulate you for applying them. And it's precisely how we will have to work to dismantle and defeat MS-13. Charge them with whatever crime they commit, and stay nimble and flexible to ensure we get them off the streets, in jail, and out of the country. As evidenced by the President's executive order, fighting transnational criminal organizations has been and continues to be one of the Department of Justice's highest priorities. As such, we have taken steps to support law enforcement and prosecutors in this mission. We've issued mandates to the field that prosecutors renew their focus on immigration offenses, specifically where those criminals have a gang nexus, targeting violent crime offenses and charging the most serious, readily provable offense, all of which will ensnare the criminal gangs. I have reconstituted the Organized Crime Council and charged our federal law enforcement partners to make the decimation and dismantlement of MS-13 and other such gangs a top priority. And this focus is already paying dividends. We have sent an additional prosecutorial resources to the southwest border, created a border security coordinators in each of our United States Attorney's offices to focus especially on criminals like MS-13 that have a nexus to the southern border. We've also reinvigorated the Institutional Hearing Program, or IHP, whereby immigration judges come to the Federal Bureau of Prisons facilities to adjudicate the cases and status cases of criminal aliens. It saves time, not to mention taxpayers' funds, and prevents some of these violent criminals from being sent from federal prison to an ICE detention facility where they will just wait at taxpayers' expense for an immigration hearing that could have been done at the prison. But finally, we have shifted things around in order to surge an additional 300 AUSAs to the field to specifically focus on violent crime and immigration, which will, of course, involve MS-13. That's not too easy to do. We've got a cut in our budget, actually an actual 2% reduction in our budget, but we think there's some money and priorities, and the money we have and the priorities we have are primarily in the field, where work is getting done every day. We're going to make some tough choices, try to be fair and judicious about it, but we will move our new attorneys to the places that we believe will have the greatest impact. But Rod Rosenstein, our deputy, he's in charge of that. He's supposed to manage all of that. And I will just warn you, he went to Wharton School of Business. He knows how to count Boston beans, and we're going to be looking at the numbers to make sure that we're getting the maximum production where they're needed the most as we go forward. But that's not the end. These are some great steps, but I'm pleased to announce that we'll be taking further action. We're now working with the Department of Homeland Security and Health and Human Services to examine the unaccompanied minor issue and the exploitation of that problem by gang members who come to this country as wolves in sheep clothing. In fact, the gang uses this program as a means to recruit members. Some are sent here by the gangs from El Salvador to recruit. Many of the young people that they recruit maybe have been here second generation. But it's a dangerous thing that's happening. We cannot allow young people to be taken into this life of crime. Further, we're engaged in increased and renewed international cooperation between U.S. law enforcement and our partners in the Northern Triangle of El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. I met with their attorneys general in El Salvador. We had a great meeting. I was impressed by them, and I hope that we can continue that relationship, because that partnership can make a big difference as time goes by. And so this has already resulted in more gang apprehensions. And in fact, while in El Salvador, the Attorney General announced the charges and arrests of some 700 gang members. Really impressed on their aggressiveness. They know this is a threat to their country, with a substantial percentage of the small businesses and mid-sized businesses in El Salvador, out of fear, pay extortion payments to MS-13 gangs. So let me be clear about something. That is, the status quo is not acceptable. This is America. We will not allow the likes of MS-13 or any gang to prey upon our communities, to decapitate individuals with machetes, baseball bats, or chains, or to turn places like Boston, Washington, D.C., Long Island, New York, Maryland, Virginia into war zones. MS-13 members are known for attacking anyone they perceive as a rival. All law-abiding individuals must be free in this country to walk down any street in any community without fear of being hacked by a machete or because they don't don the white and blue of Maria Mara. As I've said before, these gang members might be targeting our youth, but we have a message for them. We will find you. We will devastate your networks. We will starve your revenue, deplete your ranks, and seize your illicit profits. We will not concede a single block or a single street corner to your vicious tactics. From past investigations, we know these transnational criminal organizations smuggle members into our country almost exclusively with our border with Mexico. They station these gang members in safe houses in Texas before they travel to various points around the United States, securing our border both through a physical wall and with brave men and women at the Border Patrol. Restoring an orderly and lawful system of immigration is part and parcel of any successful crime-fighting, gang-fighting strategy. So again, I want to applaud federal, state, and local law enforcement and our prosecutors here in Boston for all you've done to bring the tip of the spear to this fight. This work is another mark of your recognized excellence. As I stated, we are currently battling many public safety issues. On Monday, the FBI will release the annual crime statistics for 2016. Tragically, they will show violent crime rose again across the board and in general. They'll find that murder rose again after a 10.8% increase in murder last year nationally, which is the highest increase since 1968. And it will be close to that, we expect, for 2016. Aggravated assault, rape, and robbery rose. So we cannot accept this as a new normal. One of the President's executive orders to the Department of Justice was to reduce crime in America, not to preside over steady increase in it. That is going to be our goal. We will only be able to achieve that goal working with state and local law enforcement, maximizing our federal resources, great prosecutorial leadership, and we are working to achieve that. It's an absolute determination on our part to achieve that goal. This is a frightening trend. It does threaten to erode so much of the progress that had been made in our neighborhoods and communities. I know in 1981, Bill Weld, I think, was the U.S. attorney here in that distant day. In 1981, when I became United States attorney, the murder rate was high. It dropped by half of that. Murder rate a few years ago was half what it was in 1980. A lot of hard work, 30 plus years of work has resulted in making America a safer place. But those gains are being eroded. And I urge our mayors and our governors to also work with us to make sure that we have the resources in our state and local law enforcement to achieve the most maximum effect. And I have to say, the biggest basis for the long decline, in my opinion, of violent crime and crime in general in America was the steady improvement in professionalism of state and local law enforcement. We've got to continue that. We cannot let that erode through tight budgets and other actions. Further, as this community felt on Marathon Monday, 2013, at the finish line of a historic and proud race, terrorism remains a major concern for our country. Once again, law enforcement and prosecutors, including your acting United States Attorney, rose to the occasion, stayed faithful to our mission by bringing those responsible to justice. So well done, Bill, and thank you for that and all of you here. Weekly, I meet 3 times a week with the FBI. We have terrorism cases coming up at least once a week. It surprises me how effective we've been in identifying dangerous individuals before they commit crimes. I don't know how we can continue to be so successful. Every day, those of you who work these cases know something terrible could happen. But I am so impressed with the dedication that our people are showing that, and the success we've had so far. As we've seen most recently with our brethren in the United Kingdom, whether it's a bomb on mass transit, a vehicle used as a deadly weapon, or a hijacked airliner, we must always be ready to use every lawful tool in our arsenal to disrupt a plot before it comes to fruition. Further, this area, along with the rest of New England, is in the midst of an opioid epidemic. These toxic substances are stealing our brothers, sisters, cousins, and moms and dads. I've traveled through New Hampshire, Mike, when I saw him over here, with DEA, and yeah, there you are, Mike, and seen. DEA hosted an event in New Hampshire. They had about 8,000 high school students in a hockey arena. I guess it was a hockey arena. Well, why else would you have an arena? And 50 mothers stood before those kids and held up pictures of their child who had died of drug overdose. That was such a moving and powerful event. And it touched me, and we continue to see the numbers get worse on a national basis. So that left an impression on me, an indelible impression. I'll never forget the pain that you could see in those mothers' eyes as we talked. Overdose deaths in 2015 were 52,000, 1,000 per week in this country, and it really hasn't reached the West Coast like it has east of the Mississippi. And in 2016, the numbers are just in. 64,000 deaths from drug overdose in this country in 2016. We have never, ever, in all the drug problems we've had in this country, seen this kind of death result. And I think it's a challenge to all of us. We've got to do better. DEA says that 80% of the people who become addicted on heroin and often get into the fentanyl and that deadly substance started as a prescription drug problem. We've got to do better about prescription drugs. I am convinced we can make a difference there and in short order. So we'll be taking this challenge head on. We're prescribing. This nation is prescribing too many pain pills. It's too much out there. It's causing too much addiction. It's being abused too much. And we've got to do better, and we can do better. We're sending additional resources in the field to prosecute dirty doctors, drug dealers, pharmacists, anyone else in the supply chain from big businesses on down. We will not rest. I will not rest until we turn the tide on opioid abuse. Prescription abuse can and will be dramatically reduced. I know we can do this. We're calling on every United States attorney and every agent to look for those cases. Let's bring lots of them. Let's make clear you cannot get away with this. And so I want to thank you, and you've done a lot of those cases here, Bill, I know. But thank you for all that you are doing for fighting the many-headed hydra of crime. There's no one problem, there's a lot of problems. Using the force multiplier of federal, state, and local collaboration, we can and will protect our communities, uphold the rule of law, and make our nation safe. Going back to our country's founding, Bostonians have always been known as tough and indomitable people, unwilling to accept affronts to their freedom and safety. I know that determination will serve you and all of us well in our current battles against our foes. So, Bill, thank you for what you do. Keep up the good work. Thank you all, and God bless America.